Hi guys, John Man here with another deck of the month for June, and this one is Volcanic Flamvell because it's kind of the original deck of mine, so I didn't really know I don't know what fancy name to give it, so that's the best one I can come up with. And anyways, let's get started. One copy of Treeborn Frog. He's nice because he's a chump blocker because he keeps coming back to your side of the field as long as you have no spell or trap cards or a field spell on your side of the field. And other than that, he's a monster that'll give you a plus level because it is a synchro based deck you're playing after all. So it's real nice for just coming back and giving you a plus level for your next synchro monster. Other than that, he's your only actually non-fire monster that's below level 2 that you play. Next, one Flamvell Poun, or Poun. No, I say Poun, kind of like noun, but Poun. So anyways, when this card is sent to the graveyard, when this card is destroyed by battle and sent to the graveyard, I get that correct there, you can add one monster of 200 defense from your deck to your hand. Searches out your Flamvell Firedogs because you're going to need to search them out. Other than that, you're only going to play one copy of them. You know you can search out, if I'm correct, 7 monsters, or I think it's 8 if I'm correct. Next, 3 Volcanic Scattershot. Here's a volcanic part of the deck. Now, I'll have to explain something real quick after I explain his effects. When this card is sent to the graveyard, in whatever way, inflict 500 damage to your opponent. Now, the secondary effect, if this card is sent to the graveyard for the effect of the Blaze Accelerator card, because there's Blaze Accelerator, and then the last part of it is the Tri-Blaze Accelerator, 2 different cards though. If it's sent for the effect of a Blaze Accelerator card, send 2 Volcanic Scattershots from your hand or deck to the graveyard to destroy all monsters your opponent controls. Now, if you have 1 in the deck and 1 in the hand, you can still do it, or if you have 2 in the deck or 2 in the hand, whatever, you can still use it as long as you have the 2 remaining still either in your hand or in the deck. It won't work though if one's in the grave or one's on the field, so just mind that. Now, the important ruling I have to explain with this guy is when even though his effect is mandatory to inflict 500, he will not gain that effect if no matter how many copies are sent for the effect for Blaze Accelerator or a card, Blaze Accelerator card, he will not inflict a 500. But mind you, if you use Blaze Accelerator's effect to send 1 from your hand to the graveyard, then to later to activate his effect to send 2 more from hand or deck to the graveyard to destroy all monsters your opponent controls, the 2 that were sent later will actually inflict 500 each. But the one sent for the initial activation for Blaze Accelerator will not inflict 500, so just mind that. And also he holds 500 attack and a 0 defense point stacked. And that will actually matter to certain monsters later. Flamvell Origin, a level 2 pyro type monster, as well as a tuner. If you control a face-up Flamvell monster except Flamvell Origin, and your opponent has 3 or less cards in their graveyard, you can special summon this card from your hand. And he's good because he obviously plays along with the Flamvell Archetype with 200 defense, so it's real nice. Next, 1 Morphing Jar. Morphing Jar for obvious reasons, because you kind of do burn through your hand sometimes, so you need to refresh your hand with 5 new cards. Next, 1 Spirit Reaper. Spirit Reaper is good because it will give you an impenetrable wall, as well as, since your deck can be aggressive sometimes, his discard factor effect can be a real damaging factor to your opponent, as well as being a level 3 monster. And I forgot to say that he's also has 200 defense, which means he can be searched up by Flamvell Poun. Next, 2 Volcanic Counters. This card's really good for good reasons, actually. 1, he's level 3, he has less than 500 attack, which you may now know why I run him. But anyways, when you take battle damage while this card's in your graveyard, remove it from play. Now, if there is another fire monster other than Volcanic Counter, or another copy of Volcanic Counter, in your graveyard, you can inflict damage to your opponent equal to the amount of damage that you took. So if you take, let's say, 1800 from your opponent's Stratos, and you have this in the graveyard, remove it from play unless you have another fire monster other than Volcanic Counter, you will inflict 1800 points of damage to your opponent. But that will not work if the only fire monster in your graveyard at the time was a counter or another counter. So just mind that. And he also boasts an incredible 1300 defense for a level 3 monster, so he can be a decent blocker. Next, 1 Flamvell Archer. Once per turn, you contribute one face-up power type monster to have all Flamvell monsters you control gain 800 attack until the end of the turn, or until the end phase, sorry. So it's a really nice effect because he can become 1800. He's also a level 3 pyro type tuner, so very nice card. Now here's a deck where the deck takes a slight turn, slightly. When this card is normal summon, Junk Synchron by the way, when he's normal summon, if you don't know already, you can special summon one level 2 or lower monster from your graveyard in face-up defense position, but the effects of the monster is negated. Now, its on-field effect is negated, so if you were to grab your, I guess I don't know which one at the moment, but I mean, if you were to grab one, like Mystic Swordsman level 2, his effect will not work, even if he's changed to attack. But if you use Book of Moon and flip him face up, he's now considered, you know, not to have the negation part of him. So if you grab Volcanic Scattershot, since you can with this guy, and you Synchro summon, his graveyard effect, Scattershot's effect will activate because it activates in the graveyard, not on the field. So it's a nice factor, and that's another reason why I'm running Scattershot's shell, because Scattershot will burn your opponent, where you have to spend 500 to get another monster. So still, nice card, and makes it the deck more synchro heavy. Debris Dragon, for good reasons. He gets any monster when normal summon from your graveyard of 500 or less attack into attack position, so you can get Scattershot again, or you can get out Reaper, or in this case, Volcanic Counter, because Counter has less than 500. So you can go into Black Rose and still have something to defend you if your opponent were to attack you. So, still a good card. 2 Flamvell Magicians, just because he's a level 4 tuner, searched up by Firedog, as well as having an Admiral amount of attack. Or whatever, yeah. 2 Flamvell Firedog. Not 3 because there's not enough Flamevells in the deck, in my opinion, to warrant 3, but still a good card, because when this card destroys opponent's monster by battle and sends it to the graveyard, you can special summon one fire monster with 200 or less defense from your deck, except for Flamvell Firedog. So that means you can actually get out Scattershot because he has 0, he has less than 200, get out Origin, and a bunch of other stuff. Next, 2 Volcanic Rocket, because when this card is summoned in general, you can add 1 Blaze Accelerator card from your deck or graveyard to your hand, as well as being a 19-point meter. Makes them very, very good. And last monster is Gores, because you do not play too many continuous cards, so Gores is a good card to run. Now to the spells, go Sarcophagus or Sword Child. It's just stuff in general. Most of your spells are traps. Blaze Accelerator, which obviously we're running because we're running Volcanic Rocket. If you do not know what this does, is you can send 1 power type monster of 500 or less attack from your hand to the graveyard to destroy 1 monster your opponent controls, but you cannot declare an attack if you use this effect. So you can send Scattershot, send 2 more, destroy, send your Flamvell Origin, you can send Flamvell Origin, my bad, or send Flamvell Poun, so, or Counter, so you do have a decent amount of ammo to use with this card. 1 Pot of Avarice, for good reasons, because you do Synchro, you may lose a Synchro, you might want to get back your Junk Synchrons, or Flamvell Firedogs, so good reason to run this card. 1 Foolish Burial, send your usually 90% of the time, if you have your Treeborn Frog in the grave, automatically send it to the graveyard. No second thoughts, because if you have no back row, this is a good card to use Treeborn Frog on. Rekindling, because we're only running, if I am correct, 7 Flamevells that you can use this on, so it's another reason why we're only running 1, not 2. 1 Mind Control, because we're running a decent amount of tuners, so why not? 1 Monster Reborn. Obviously, we're going to be Synchron a lot, so sometimes we might need a specific level for like your Trishula, Stars Dragon, Red Dragon Archfiend, or whatever. You're going to need to steal sometimes opponents' tuners or non-tuner monsters. Next, 2 enemy controllers, because we're running Treeborn Frog, or because your Firedog has to take down a monster, so it's a good way to do it. 1 Book of Moon, obvious good reasons. Dark Hole, Giant Tunade, 1 MST actually, The reasons why I'm running 1 instead of 2 is because I'm running another card which is in the trap section. I'll show you quick. 2 Regeki Break. Sometimes you get your Scattershot staying in your hand, or Treeborn Frogs kind of staying there, so you need to get rid of them. And it's a good way to get rid of them because you destroy a card on the field. 2 Bottomless Trap Bow, a cheap alternative to your warnings. If you do wish to play the warnings, you can. First deck in forever, actually, to showcase Mirror Force, for good reason, because I finally got it. Obviously, if you do not want to play this card, this particular one, you can play another MST, either Dust Tornado or the Transmigration Prophecy. All 3 of those cards are good replacements if you do not want to run Mirror Force or don't have it. Finally, 1 Call to Haunt It, and 1 Solemn Judgment. So that's pretty much it, guys. It's a good and fun deck, and I hope you like it, and peace out.